Hi, I'm Charlotte. My 8-year-old came home in tears one Friday, clutching a manila envelope that shattered my sense of normalcy. Inside were what appeared to be official hospital documents, birth records stamped and signed, that proved she wasn't really our child. The source? Her grandmother, Diana, whose obsession with control had reached a terrifying new level. Emma burst through the door, her face streaked with tears, her backpack dragging behind her. "Mommy, why did you lie to me?" she choked out, clutching the envelope to her chest. "What are you talking about, sweetheart?" I asked, kneeling to her level. She backed away from my outstretched arms and thrust the papers at me. "Grandma said I'm not really your daughter. She showed me these papers. She said my real mommy didn't want me, so you pretended I was yours." My breath caught as I flipped through the documents. They looked disturbingly real, complete with hospital letterhead, official seals, and even my husband Mark's signature. But they were lies. Every detail of Emma's birth was burned into my memory. 27 grueling hours of labor, the first moment I held her, her perfect little nose that looked just like mine, and Mark's dimples when she smiled. "Emma, listen to me," I said firmly, though my voice trembled. "These aren't real. You are my daughter. I carried you for 9 months. I have photos and videos to prove it." Emma's tearful gaze bore into mine. "Grandma said you'd say that. She said you made fake pictures because you couldn't have your own babies." Her voice broke as fresh sobs shook her tiny frame. The room spun. Diana's interference had always been intrusive. Unannounced visits, backhanded comments about my parenting, and undermining me at every turn. But this was a cruel new low. I immediately called Mark, my hands trembling. "Your mother told Emma she's adopted," I said, my voice cracking. "She made fake documents to convince her." "Charlotte, that doesn't sound like Mom," he replied, ever her loyal defender. "There's probably some misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" My voice rose. "Our daughter is upstairs, sobbing because your mother made her believe her whole life is a lie." Mark sighed. Okay. I'll talk to her." "No," I interrupted. "You don't talk to her. You handle this. Because if you don't, I will." When Diana picked up the phone, her syrupy sweet tone made my stomach churn. "Charlotte, dear." What a surprise. "You know why I'm calling," I snapped. "How dare you tell Emma she's adopted? She's devastated." "Well," Diana said airily, "I thought you deserved to know the truth. Children need honesty." "Honesty?" I cut her off. "You forged documents and traumatized an 8-year-old. This isn't honesty, it's manipulation." Her tone sharpened. "Charlotte, if you're going to be hysterical, perhaps we should wait for Mark to discuss this. He understands the importance of transparency." I hung up before I could say something I'd regret. Mark walked in just as Emma emerged from her room, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes, red and puffy, searched his face. "Daddy, is it true? Am I really not Mommy's?" Mark knelt beside her, guilt and disbelief flickering across his face. "No, sweetheart. Mommy is your real mom. You grew in her tummy. We have pictures to prove it." "But Grandma showed me papers," Emma whispered. Mark glanced at me, and I handed him the fake documents. He stared at them for a moment before his jaw tightened. "These are fake, Emma. Grandma lied to you." "Why would she lie?" Emma whimpered, her tears starting again. I wrapped my arms around her, and this time she didn't pull away. "Sometimes people do bad things because they're hurting inside," I said softly. "But that doesn't make it okay." Mark's expression darkened as he pulled out his phone. When Diana answered, he didn't waste time. "Mom, what were you thinking? You lied to Emma. You forged documents." "Mark, darling," she began, her tone saccharine. "I was protecting my granddaughter. Charlotte's too busy with her career to be a proper mother." "Stop," Mark said, his voice low and firm. "Emma is a child, not a pawn in your games. Until you can take responsibility for what you've done, you're not welcome near her or us." "You're choosing her over your own mother?" Diana hissed. "I'm choosing my daughter," Mark replied. "Goodbye, Mom." That night, I sat with Emma, scrolling through photos of her birth, her first steps, and the moment we brought her home. She fell asleep clutching my hand, her little rabbit tucked under her arm. Mark watched us from the doorway, regret etched on his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered as we left Emma's room. "I should have seen this coming." "We'll get through it," I said. But no more defending her. Emma comes first. He nodded, pulling me into his arms. Always. But as I lay in bed, my mind raced. Diana wouldn't give up so easily. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. And I needed to be ready for whatever came next. The next morning, we didn't waste any time. Mark called a family attorney while I reached out to a child therapist for Emma. She needed help processing everything Diana had done, and we needed to ensure she felt safe and loved. As I packed Emma's lunch, she hovered near me, her bunny clutched in one hand. "Mommy, are you and Daddy going to make Grandma stop?" I crouched down to her level, brushing a stray hair out of her face. "Yes, sweetheart. Daddy and I are going to make sure Grandma can't hurt you anymore. You're safe with us." She nodded, but her little brows furrowed. "What if she tries again?" "Then we'll stop her," Mark said, walking in with his laptop. He set it down and knelt next to us. "We're a team, Emma, and no one, Grandma or anyone else, will come between us." Emma gave a small smile, but her grip on her bunny tightened. She wasn't fully reassured yet, and I didn't blame her. Diana's betrayal had shaken all of us. By noon, Mark's sister Katie came by with a folder of evidence she collected from Diana's house. Copies of the forged custody papers, the adoption documents, and even emails where Diana had reached out to a lawyer under the guise of saving Emma from an unfit home. It was chilling how far she'd gone to execute her plan. "This is everything I found," Katie said, her voice trembling. "I still can't believe Mom was capable of this." Mark flipped through the papers, his face growing darker with each page. "You did the right thing by reporting this, Katie. Thank you." Katie looked at me, her eyes full of regret. "I'm so sorry, Charlotte, for believing her, for not seeing what she was doing." I put a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't know. None of us realized how far she'd go. But now we do, and we're stopping it together." By the end of the day, we'd filed for a restraining order and handed over the evidence to the authorities. Diana was officially under investigation for fraud, and the lawyer assured us that her actions could have serious legal consequences. It was a small comfort, but it was a start. That evening, after putting Emma to bed, Mark and I sat in a quiet living room, the weight of the day settling in. "I should have stopped this sooner," he said, his voice heavy with guilt. "I kept making excuses for her because she's my mom. I didn't see how much damage she was doing." "You see it now," I said gently, "and you're standing up for us. That's what matters." He reached for my hand, squeezing it tightly. "She's not going to win, Charlotte. I won't let her." But even with the restraining order in place, I couldn't shake the feeling that Diana wasn't done. Her parting message echoed in my mind. A mother's love knows no bounds. It wasn't love driving her, though. It was control, and she'd shown she was willing to do anything to get it. The days that followed were a blur of therapy sessions for Emma, lawyer meetings, and check-ins with the police. Emma was slowly starting to trust us again, but the hurt Diana had caused wouldn't fade overnight. Then, 1 week later, the police called. They'd found more forged documents in Diana's home, this time involving not just Emma, but other family members and acquaintances she tried to manipulate over the years. Her pattern of control and deceit ran deeper than any of us had imagined. "She'll be charged with fraud and likely face court-ordered psychiatric evaluation," the officer explained. "Her behavior suggests deep psychological issues, but the courts will decide how to proceed." When I hung up, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Diana's actions had been monstrous, but at the root of it all was a woman who desperately needed help, and who might never admit she needed it. That night, Mark and I sat with Emma, showing her old family photos and telling her stories about her childhood. Slowly, her smile began to return, and the tension in her little shoulders eased. As I tucked her in, she looked up at me and said, "Mommy, I know you're my real mommy now. Grandma was wrong." I kissed her forehead, tears welling in my eyes. "I'm so glad you know that, baby. I love you more than anything in the world." In the weeks that followed, Diana was formally charged, and we began to rebuild our lives. Katie became a stronger ally, distancing herself from Diana's toxic influence, and Mark worked tirelessly to regain Emma's trust. It wasn't easy, but with every step forward, we became stronger as a family. Diana's voice, once a constant presence in our lives, was replaced by the sound of Emma's laughter and the peace of a home free from her manipulation. The road ahead would still have challenges, but one thing was certain. We wouldn't let her, or anyone else, tear our family apart again. The next morning, reality came crashing down when the police called. They had uncovered more disturbing evidence at Diana's house. Not just forged documents, but a detailed, chilling plan to rescue Emma from what she deemed our unfit home. Mrs. Walker, the detective said gravely, your mother-in-law had surveillance photos of your daughter's daily routine, her school schedule, and even maps marking potential extraction points. This goes far beyond family conflict. I clutched the phone, my heart pounding. Extraction points. Yes. She had a plan to take Emma during one of her unauthorized school pickups. We found packed bags, fake passports, and notes about relocation. This was premeditated. I relayed the information to Mark, who was pacing the kitchen, his face a mask of fury. She needs to be arrested, he said, his voice tight with anger. The detective agreed. We're bringing her in for questioning today. Based on the evidence, she'll likely face charges for document forgery, stalking, and attempted kidnapping. That afternoon, Katie called, her voice shaky with emotion. They arrested Mom. She completely lost it, started screaming about how we've all turned against her. The doctors think she's having a psychotic break. Diana was committed to a psychiatric facility for evaluation, where she was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and delusional disorder. She had been living in an alternate reality, one where she was the hero saving Emma from my supposed negligence. Meanwhile, Emma began therapy to process everything. One evening, as she colored at the kitchen table, she looked up and said, Dr. Sarah says it's okay to still love Grandma but be mad about what she did. That's very wise, I said, marveling at her resilience. Emma was slowly reclaiming her sense of safety, but the road was long for all of us. 3 months later, we sat in court as Diana faced sentencing. She looked diminished, her once meticulous appearance now disheveled. The judge ordered mandatory psychiatric treatment, medication compliance, and issued a permanent restraining order to protect our family. As Diana was escorted out, Mark spoke softly but firmly. Mom, I hope you get the help you need. She didn't respond. That night, Emma climbed into bed with us. Will Grandma ever get better? She asked quietly. We hope so, sweetheart, I said honestly. But even if she does, things will be different. Sometimes loving someone means keeping your distance to stay safe. A year passed and life began to stabilize. Emma, now 9, was thriving in school and therapy. Then one day, we received a letter from Diana's treatment facility. She had made progress, they said, and was starting to acknowledge her actions. The letter included an apology. What do you think? I asked Mark as I handed him the letter. He read it carefully, his face unreadable. I think we keep the restraining order in place. Maybe someday, but not now. Emma's healing. We all are. Emma overheard us and looked up from her homework. Is that from Grandma? Yes, baby, she's getting help just like we talked about. Emma nodded, her expression thoughtful. Dr. Sarah says forgiveness is a choice, not an obligation. I wrapped my arms around her, amazed by her wisdom. That's absolutely right, and whatever you choose, we'll always support you. That evening, I watched Emma and Mark play in the backyard, their laughter filling the air. For the first time in a long while, I felt a deep sense of peace. Diana had tried to fracture our family, but her actions had only strengthened our bond. We had learned to set boundaries, trust our instincts, and fiercely protect what mattered most, each other. The forged documents remain locked in a drawer, a sobering reminder of how deeply betrayal can cut. But they also serve as a testament to our resilience. Love doesn't need to be proven through manipulation or lies. It's found in the everyday moments, in truth, trust, and the unwavering strength to protect the ones we cherish. Emma is 10 now, a vibrant and curious soul who often asks questions about Diana. But her questions have changed. No longer, why did Grandma lie? But instead, how can I make sure I never hurt someone like that? And that's how I know we're going to be okay.